Alright guys, Hatch Kremp again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The World Championship is not too far away. Scump is giving his thoughts on the potential first round matchup that OpTic Texas will likely have. It's going to be a difficult one, pretty much regardless of what happens going into Major 4 in Dallas. But Scump says actually this could be a rather good thing, especially if they capitalize on their momentum over the last few days. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. This is the big one from the Challengers side. The Stallions are going to be there. It's honestly a really cool story. We've seen this throughout the year. People, do we support challengers? Do we not support challengers? When does it make sense to do so? We know that Zinni talked about it, but sometimes supporting a challengers team and then realize it probably just didn't really make all that much sense. But this is the Stallions roster. Of course, there's been lots of debate about this because the likes of Swooty did not have the pro points, right, that other guys wanted to team with, and I totally understand it. I mean, look, obviously Swooty wasn't the happiest about it. He's an entertaining character for sure, but I think Swooty has to accept that, okay, some of the guys that didn't necessarily want to team with him and the team, not necessarily, nothing personal, it's more that people are trying to get better seedings for DreamHack Dallas because this event is the big event as far as challengers goes. If you win this event, you guarantee your qualification to the Esports World Cup, and that's a massive deal because if you qualify for the World Cup, even if you come last, you're guaranteed like 20k and like between the team, and if you make some progress and some strides, and it's also a great chance to actually play against the pros. Don't get that in the CDL anymore. That's what the World Cup offers, with 4 teams from challengers going to the World Cup in addition to the 12 pro teams. That's how it currently looks anyway. So the winner of this tournament guarantees their qualification. That's pretty mega. So I understand why other teams have been not so convinced. But anyway, Skyz is on the roster, right? I think this is really cool to see. Hex was like, yeah, sure, like, I'm down. Let Skyz go, loan him out to Zuma's franchise and go and play the tournament. Skyz has been, look, at the end of the day, he's a world champion, he's a pro player. I saw some clips going around of his, like, comms and how impressive that is, maybe even compared to some of the challengers guys. And you see it, right? Dashy hopped into the trials the other day and looked like Jesus himself. So even Skyz, he should go down to challengers and do pretty well. Is he going to kill his stock if they bomb out? No, I don't really think so, but it's pretty exciting. Now, of course, the other symbols is here, but also the other drama was around Zach, right? So Zach, this Australian guy, who's made it out there, and like here he is in the facility getting ready to go. So it's actually a really cool story, and I'll be following this throughout the weekend, really, because usually there's not in challenges, there's some storylines, but this is a pretty big one with Zuma's team coming into the picture this weekend. Just a quick little 8s watch. They actually played some Chals. So, again, just very familiar names, and I've not got a problem with familiar names, but I'm like, surely there's certain players that should be grinding a bit more than they are. Anyway, Drazah's playing with aBeZy, Neptune, Kremp, Dashy, TJ, Huke, and Scrappy. So no, nothing unfamiliar. Similar names. They played a 3v3 chal. They played a 2v2 chal as well with Brandon, Dashy in the mix as well. Few brand stats to go through because after the stage, Mercules and Super join 5 other players in history to drop a 1.2 as a rookie. So Super's KD last stage was a 1.19 and this stage it was a 1.2. So it wasn't his rookie stage exactly, but he's a rookie this year. So, because otherwise all of these would just be stage 1, right? Like pretty much when they first made their debut. But the point is, in their rookie season, how did they do in their best stage? Insight had a 1.27 in Cold War, Scrap at a 1.25 in MW2 at the final stage of the year, Sib and Pred, and even Gizmo, right? Like what a player that he was for that stage 1 Vanguard Ravens team. But Mercules this stage dropped a 1.2 overall KD. Super this stage overall a 1.2 KD. But I think Rencor probably isn't too far behind either. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know where Rencor exactly is, but I still think he's the favourite for the Rookie of the Year, certainly after what we've seen over the last few days. And Cellium does take the lead again. So yeah, this of course famously the Vanguard stage 2 methods 1.38, that remains the king, and Cellium 1.32 this stage, the 8th time he's led a stage in KD. No other player has done it more than twice. So pretty remarkable actually to think of all the players who've had over the last few years, but Cellium was tied for it in Cold War, he had it in stage 1 Vanguard, he had it in stage 4 Vanguard, stage 1 MW2, and then he had it 3 stages in a row last last year. And this is the first time, though, that he's actually been back on top. HyDra got his first one in Stage 2, and HyDra got his second one shortly after that. But yeah, so it's been about a year since Cellium has been on top from the KD standpoint, but a 1.32 is one of the highest that you're going to actually see on this list. Wake has one, Octane has one during this period as well. Even Skyz has one back in Stage 4, and that inside stat that we mentioned a second ago as well. Now, as it currently stands, Thieves, FaZe, and Toronto are top 6 all-time win percentage for a CDL season. Pretty interesting. Cold War FaZe, 37-7. Modern Warfare 3 FaZe, 43-10. But this year's Thieves team in BO6 and this year's FaZe team are currently sitting at the other highest win percentages on a season. But they are still quite a way off what FaZe were doing in their maybe absolute best seasons. Ultra at 40-13 is not bad either. So that's a very, very similar number to what we saw from a couple of teams at the moment. Ultra even themselves aren't all that far behind. But yeah, that's how the numbers currently look. But I wanted to share a couple of clips because it got pretty tasty last night. Certainly on the flank, they were talking about whether Ultra made the correct decision to stick it out. And look, as I said yesterday, I understand why they did what they did. But in hindsight, certainly having let Mercules go to OpTic and now getting 3-0'd by him, and I mean, right now OpTic would be the favourites to do it again in the first round of the major, which would be a major, major blow for Toronto. And again, I do wonder with Toronto, because here we are, we're getting to crunch time in the season, things are getting real interesting. And again, Ultra seem to be just, they've dropped off, like maybe even not a little bit, they might have dropped off quite substantially from where they have been in recent weeks, which, don't know, it's like, we see this sometimes from Ultra. They look really good at a point in the season, but then it comes to the end of the year and they can't quite keep up that level. But we'll see. It's only online stuff at the end of the day. Going to reserve a bit of judgment until we see them turn up to lab. But if they do it again, it is a big talking point because, you know, for years now, Toronto have threatened to be very competitive at Champs. They turn up to Champs and it doesn't really go to plan. And we've seen that in recent years. We may be seeing it again this year as well. So, yeah, there was lots of talk about whether they should have done something remarkably different there. But this is what Scump had to say on the standings. Now, we looked at the standings earlier today. This is how they presently look, and as we said, OpTic do have the possibility to actually climb up the rankings here, because like if Ravens drop out top 12, which is expected, they'll be stuck at 220. Boston, they play the loser of Heretics and Rocker in the first round. They could drop down there and be out at 200, at which point OpTic would, you know, realistically only need to win a couple of series to potentially make some overtakes here. And OpTic getting to the 6th seed is not out of the realms of possibility. If they come top 4, they get 45 points. That would take them actually right up there to 220. But the Ravens have had their number this year, so maybe that's not going to work in terms of head-to-head. They might need to get top 3. But still, OpTic, you know, theoretically could even pass Heretics, depending on how things go, although pretty unlikely. OpTic will likely be the 8th or the 7th seed. It's not impossible they could go further, but in all likelihood, Scump is correct in his assessments that yes, it's probably Thieves or FaZe in the first round. They're either going to be the 8th seed or they're going to be the 7th seed, and that means they're either playing Thieves or FaZe. Now, this on paper is tough, right? I mean, you want to be the top seed, you can play a weaker seed in the first round to get some momentum, but before the World Championship, you've got weeks to prepare, right? You've got weeks to go into that series, know who you're playing against, and if anything, it could be a good thing. As Scump says, could be a bad thing, could be a good thing, but getting that real difficult first round game out of the way early is potentially like a really important win. And FaZe, they don't often lose in the first round. Thieves, I think you maybe can get at them, and I think if you're OpTic, you'd probably prefer to play Thieves. I don't know what you guys think about that. As I said before, and I'll probably say it again, I think Thieves, when they're on form, when they play in their best stuff, they play the best COD. Like, I think Thieves are the best team in the game in that sense. But in terms of who, if I'm OpTic, I feel like I'd match up against and I'd rather play in the first rounds, I'd probably say Thieves, because I think they're more gettable at, they're more beatable. FaZe are just so, I don't know, they're just so hard to stop, and I think that a lot of OpTic fans, you also got to play the CEO, right? That's the other thing, right? Drazah doesn't lose to OpTic nowadays. So, I don't know what you guys, like, if you OpTic fans watching this, what you guys think, but if it were me, I would probably prefer to play Thieves in the first round than FaZe, but either way, it's tough, and either way, if you win, you've got massive momentum on your side.
But I just think the other two ARs are too inconsistent as far as respawns go. That's why this team has struggled to win in those losers finals, struggled to win big series. I think CleanX and Joe are having great seasons, but I don't think either AR has made a compelling case to keep the roster spot long term if there's a pack-a-punch option out there.
It's almost like they had a pack-a-punch option that I was screaming from the mountaintops that they should have made and dropped the friendship bullshit and kept a 20-year-old who was good as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, that was my next question.
And then that 20-year-old beats him.
I mean, dude, Jamie had 2,000 less damage than like the average in the lobby.
It was honestly the clearest, simplest roster move to make. Like,
but those are the ones that don't happen, Pat. You know,
bro. Anyone with any IQ points knows to make that change. I'm mind blown they didn't pull the trigger.
Minnesota, Cloud9. If we make winner's bracket, we're in a great spot. A very, very good spot. It would be nice if we can maybe jump Boston, but at the end of the day, as of right now, it's looking like our first round of champs is either Thieves or FaZe, which could be a good thing, or it could be a bad thing. Because if we come out at champs and beat one of these two, round one, who knows what happens after that. But obviously, tough task to beat either of these teams. Beautiful. Nice. 3-0 from the gentleman.
Going into DreamHack.
What a series.
Let's fucking go. The top teams. Top dog.
They get it done.
Nice pick, bro. See?
All
now
calculated.
We can put the LAG series behind us, and we can go into the major riding this momentum.
Absolutely.
A huge 3-0 against a top team.
And that's third seed locked up, right?
Listen, you cannot ask for a better bounce back than that now.
No, that was a great all-around win right there.
I was talking about how I think we're going to win today on my stream earlier, and they were talking to me like I'm just a biased, delusional. I'm like, guys,
no, we just didn't make mistakes today.
We just threw versus LAG. We literally just handed them the win. We were still in winning positions. We just didn't capitalize. Today we capitalized. Today was picture perfect. I love what I saw in search, control. I mean,
there was no like
great series.
There were no fucking like mistakes where you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Which are the mistakes that end up losing you series. We kept it tight today, man.
Let's go.
And that's the ceiling that this team can hit.
Let's
3-0
go.
over a good Toronto team, man.
That makes today awesome. Now, the only thing we need is a Leafs W tonight.
OpTic, of course, already having some nice momentum after their victory against Toronto. The LAG series was, interesting for sure, but they can put that behind them. They can move on and ride some of that momentum going into the major. And if they continue that momentum at the major, then who knows what's possible at the World Championship as well. But yeah, I think OpTic will be looking a little bit at the way that the standings are. Of course, they'll want to qualify. It's interesting because if Thieves close out this stage and they beat FaZe, they obviously outplace FaZe at this tournament, then Thieves will be the #1 seed, in which case OpTic as the 8th seed would play Thieves first round. If FaZe were to overtake Thieves this tournament, which is absolutely possible as well, then OpTic, if they wanted to face Thieves, would have to, of course, get to the 7th seed, which means winning a fair little bit, or maybe they could even go further and avoid both FaZe and Thieves entirely if they win the event or come second. Then they'll likely make enough of a change to end up playing Toronto first round at Champs, or something of that kind of ilk. The worse seeding you get, the worse it gets, because you veto advantages and stuff like this. It is dependent on the seeding to some degree, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure even if OpTic fully know what maps they're going to be good or bad at quite yet. So there's lots of interesting developments here still to come, but yeah, the World Championship is looming, and OpTic maybe just about putting it together about at the right time. I thought this is pretty spicy as well. Rambo joining the flank and talking about the guys, giving some criticism to Surge and all this. At the end of the day, it's online Call of Duty. Surge, their online stages haven't always been the strongest, but for the last couple of days they have definitely seemed to have maybe turned a bit of a corner again after a trickier start to the stage, and I'm sure they'll still be a threat. The question for Surge always is that, this is at least my opinion, you look at that Surge team, does it match up on paper with Thieves or FaZe? It's tough, isn't it? It is tough. But over the last couple of tournaments, they've done it. They've made it to the finals, and on both occasions, they've got 4-0 slammed. So, I do wonder with Surge whether, that chance is going to arrive again. Like, this league is so stacked at the top, and it's amazing that Surge have made the runs that they have done, because I wasn't expecting this Surge team, even after the change, to be making it to back-to-back finals. But at the same time, if you're Surge, you gotta, if you're the players on the team, you gotta recognize like how many more grand finals opportunities are you gonna get, right? It may not be too many, so Surge need to try and make the finals again, and at least win a map this time. That would be ideal. But very much into your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Rambo came in and he said, "Why do you guys?" He basically said, "Why were you guys saying Vancouver sucks?" Basically said we don't keep that same energy with FaZe and LA Thieves that we do Vancouver. He said that we were cooking Vancouver, saying they suck.
They won yesterday. We cooked.
No, we
But
gassed
I
them
also
yesterday.
don't remember. I also don't remember. When was he saying that we cooked them? Was
I
it
don't know.
before they made the
asked him-
changes
he
or
kept saying-
after?
He kept saying that he doesn't remember. When I asked him like who said what, I said, "Well, who
I
said
think
what?"
Ray
I
might have
said,
been taking some
I think
risks too. it sounds
sometimes
like.
Tom, listen. I'll say sometimes you can tell the difference is people that watch the clips of the show and people that watch the actual show.
yeah, I think that's a problem. I mean, I don't think that's their fault. I don't think that's
Ray's
their
getting
fault.
clickbaited.
That's
Ray might
I
be
think
getting-
there's a little bit of clickbait going on.
I mean,